Time was supposed to erase you, my friends. That's what they told themselves. They thought that distance, silence, and a few passing seasons would make your name fade out of their heart, like an old song they no longer played. But here's the truth. Time didn't erase you. Time sharpened you. Time made you louder in their memory, clearer in their mind, heavier in their chest. You became the ghost they can't stop feeling. They tried to forget you, but forgetting you was like trying to stop a wave with bare hands. It only hit them harder. You see, folks, people think moving on is easy when their ego's still full. They convince themselves they didn't need you. They distract themselves with new faces, new conversations, and fake laughter. But time has a way of stripping illusions. It takes away the noise, and all that's left is silence, the kind that screams your name when they're alone. That's when it hits them. They remember your laugh, your calmness, your patience. They remember how you looked at them like they mattered when no one else did. And that's when they realize they lost something real. There's a psychological truth behind this. The mind doesn't close emotional loops easily. When something feels unfinished, it replays it over and over, looking for answers, peace, closure. That's what they're doing now. They're replaying your last words, the moment you walked away, the quiet power in your silence. They thought time would protect them, but time betrayed them. It made them realize that what they lost was not replaceable, and that's the kind of realization that burns slow. I know some of you watching this have asked yourself, do they even miss me? And I want you to breathe for a second and understand, yes, they do. They might not say it, they might act strong, but their mind knows, their heart knows. Because the truth is, when someone has felt genuine energy, real loyalty, and rare peace, nothing after that ever feels the same. You were the standard, and now everything else falls short. Listen, my friends, this isn't about revenge. It's not about waiting for them to crawl back. It's about understanding the power of your presence. You didn't lose anything. They did. You gave realness in a world addicted to fake. You gave effort in a world that fears connection. You gave love that asked for nothing in return. And that kind of energy always comes back around. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day they'll look at their reflection and whisper your name, realizing you were the piece they couldn't find again. If your chest feels tight right now, if something in your gut is whispering, "This was meant for me," then don't just sit there nodding quietly. I want you to take a moment right now and stamp your truth in the comments. I'm unforgettable. Not later, not maybe. Now, say it like you mean it. Type it like you're claiming your identity back. Because too many people tried to convince you that you were easy to forget, and it's time to break that lie once and for all. This is how we flip the script. This is how we take our power back, not by begging, but by owning it out loud. And if this message hit that spot in you that nobody else has reached lately, if you feel seen, heard, and strangely understood in a way the world never gave you, then do something simple but powerful. Smash that like button. Hit subscribe. Join this space where silence speaks louder than drama, where peace is louder than begging, and where your worth isn't a question, it's a fact. This isn't about being petty. This is about being undeniable. Stick with me, folks. What's coming next is not just more words. It's clarity. It's confirmation. It's everything you've felt but didn't know how to explain. Your silence, it's haunting them. Your peace, it's glowing louder than their chaos. And your absence. Oh, it's the one thing they never prepared for. So breathe deep. You're not forgotten. You're unforgettable. Number 1. Time wasn't a cure. It was a mirror. They thought time would fix it. that the space between you would give them peace, clarity, or some kind of relief. That if they just waited long enough, your voice would fade, your face would blur, and your energy would stop echoing in their quiet moments. But that's not what happened, because time, my friends, doesn't erase truth. It exposes it. And for them, time didn't act like a cure. It acted like a mirror. A cold, unfiltered mirror that showed them exactly what they tried to escape, themselves, without you. At first, they distracted themselves. They stayed busy. They convinced themselves they were fine. But when the distractions faded, when the nights got quiet and no one else could fill the silence the way you once did, that's when the weight of it all started to land. Because your absence wasn't just about losing a person, it was about losing connection, meaning, and something they may not have even known they needed until it was gone. You weren't just someone who loved them, you were someone who understood them, and you can't fake that with anyone else. Here's the truth that hits hardest. Emotional distance doesn't always bring healing. Sometimes it brings a sharper kind of pain. The kind that reveals what they were running from wasn't you, it was the way you made them feel, seen, exposed, vulnerable. And now that you're gone, that mirror's still there, showing them everything they couldn't admit before. Time didn't numb them. It woke them up, slowly, cruelly, but undeniably. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." That's what they did. They tried replacing you. They tried forgetting you. They even tried hating you. But nothing worked. Because what they're really running from isn't your memory. It's the unfinished business between you two. It's the conversations they avoided, the closure they never gave, the love they didn't know how to receive. And now it's all sitting with them, growing louder, heavier, more unbearable. There's a psychological principle behind this called the Zeigarnik effect. It explains why we remember unfinished tasks more vividly than completed ones. Our brain keeps circling back, trying to resolve what feels incomplete. It doesn't care how long it's been. It just wants to finish the loop. That's what your absence did. It left them in an open loop. No closure, no goodbye, just space, silence, and everything they couldn't admit. So now they're stuck in it, reliving old conversations, analyzing your tone, wondering if you meant what you said, questioning why you stopped reaching out. Every time they try to move on, that loop pulls them right back. And this is where obsession begins, not with you, but with themselves in relation to you. They're haunted by the version of them that you knew, the version that smiled more, that felt safe, that could rest around you. You were the mirror that showed them their potential, and when you left, that reflection cracked. That's not something people recover from easily, not when it was real. You might ask yourself, why didn't they just say this when they had the chance? Why didn't they hold on when you gave them everything? The answer is uncomfortable but necessary. They didn't know what they had. Not truly, because some people can't recognize peace until they've lived without it. Some people need the silence to hear what was always there, and now that it's silent, they hear you everywhere. It's in the music they used to play with you. It's in the restaurant they swore they'd never visit again. It's in the text thread they still haven't deleted, though they pretend not to care. Your memory is stitched into the ordinary. And no matter how hard they try, they can't scrub you out. That's not weakness. That's emotional truth. And it always finds its way back. Let me ask you this. If someone is truly over you, why do they still check your profile? Why do they ask mutual friends how you're doing? Why do they flinch when your name comes up? Why does a simple reminder of you make them act strange? It's because they're not over you, not even close. They just don't know how to confront the mirror. They don't know how to admit that your absence is louder than your presence ever was. And that's the ironic part. You said less. You did less. You vanished. But that's when they started feeling you more. That's when the emotions got sharp, the memories got vivid, the regret got loud. Because when someone's truly impacted us, we don't forget. We remember in layers. We remember in dreams, in triggers, in flashbacks that come out of nowhere. And when the person is unforgettable, no amount of time can fix it. So if you're sitting there wondering, do they think about me? The answer is yes. More than you know, but their pride is louder than their pain, at least for now. That doesn't mean they're healed, it just means they're hiding. But don't let that confuse you. Your energy is felt, your silence is heard, your absence is the mirror they can't stop staring into, even when they pretend it doesn't exist. This was never about revenge, this was about truth. And the truth is, they thought you were a phase, a chapter, something they could close, but time made them realize you were the whole book, and now they're stuck rereading the pages, wishing they'd never put it down. So stand tall in your silence. You didn't need to chase, you didn't need to explain, you let time do what it does best, reveal. And it revealed that you were never forgettable. You were unforgettable. You are unforgettable. Write it in the comments right now. Time proved my worth. Let that be your reminder, your anchor. Not because you need validation, but because you finally understand. Their regret isn't your responsibility. Their longing isn't your burden. Your only job now is to rise. Number 2. They didn't want you until silence made them listen. They didn't want you when you were showing up, when you were available, when you were checking in, making sure they were okay, offering your energy like it was endless. Back then, your presence was treated like background noise. Something always there, always consistent, always reliable, and because it was constant, they took it for granted. They thought your attention was permanent, your care automatic. But the moment you stopped speaking, the silence became deafening. Your withdrawal didn't just leave space, it created a vacuum. And in that silence, they finally started to hear everything they refused to listen to before. That's the strange thing about people. They don't always notice your worth when you're loud about it. Sometimes it's your absence that forces them to listen. And now your silence is ringing in their ears like a warning they can't turn off. Every moment you don't reach out becomes a question in their mind. Every day you don't check in becomes an alarm they can't snooze. They never realized how much your voice grounded them until it vanished. Now, all they hear is the echo of what used to be. And it's not just emotional. This is science. The human brain is wired to seek validation. We crave it like oxygen. Even those who pretend not to care are deeply affected when the source of that validation disappears. Especially if that source was real, not performative, not manipulative, but rooted in truth. That was you. You gave them praise without puppeteering. You saw them without flattery. You gave them energy without expectation. And that type of attention? It doesn't come around twice. Right now their ego is starving, because while you were present, they fed off your warmth, your compliments, your belief in them. Even if they didn't admit it, your energy made them feel powerful. And now they're cold. Their new connections feel hollow. The praise feels fake. The attention feels forced, because it's not coming from you. You didn't just validate them. You confirmed them. You reflected back their best self. And now that mirror is gone, and all they see is emptiness. They thought they'd be fine without you, but now they find themselves refreshing their messages, hoping for a text, stalking your profile without engaging, wondering if you're thinking about them while pretending they don't care. They're caught in the mental loop of, why aren't they reaching out? Not because they miss what you did, but because they miss how you made them feel about themselves. That's the crack they can't seal. You made them feel something real in a world full of performance. You saw their soul when everyone else just glanced at their surface, and now you're gone, silent, still, detached. That's where your power is. You're no longer feeding their ego. You're no longer handing over free emotional energy. And what happens when the supply dries up? Curiosity kicks in. Obsession follows. They start to analyze every detail of what went wrong, and they realize deep down that they pushed away the one person who gave them peace without conditions. You don't need to say a word. You already said everything when you stopped speaking. Your silence is doing the work now, and the beauty of it is that your absence is saying more than your presence ever could. It's telling them, I'm not here to convince you anymore. I'm here to let reality teach you, and oh, how it's teaching them. So breathe deep. You don't need to chase. You don't need to remind them of who you are. They're learning. Quietly, painfully, slowly. Let them. That silence you gave them. It was the best lesson they ever received. Type this in the comments if you feel it in your bones. My silence says everything. Let it be your shield. Let it be your truth. Let it be your power. Number 3. Replacements were just weak imitations. They thought finding someone else would fix it, that a new face, a new voice, and a fresh distraction would wipe out every trace of you. So they rushed to replace what they never even took time to understand. But what they didn't realize, my friends, is that replacements don't erase energy. They only reveal what's missing. They thought the next person could fill the space you once held. But now, their soul is starving, because all they found was an imitation, a hollow echo of something they once had in full. This is the truth they won't say out loud, but it eats at them daily. The rebound didn't hit the same. The jokes didn't land. The connection didn't spark. They tried to replicate the bond, but every attempt just reminded them that it wasn't you. It was forced. It was surface level. It didn't challenge them. It didn't calm them. It didn't feel. And now they're sitting next to someone else while thinking about you. That's not love. That's emotional residue they can't scrub clean. Psychologists call this the rebound effect. After a breakup or rejection, people often jump into something new, not to move forward, but to escape the discomfort of being alone with their thoughts. They seek emotional relief, not emotional truth. And that's the trap. Because instead of facing their loss, they distract themselves with someone who can't reach them the way you did. It's a mental high for a little while, sure. But when the novelty wears off, reality hits harder than before, and that reality is this. They didn't replace you. They downgraded. And it's not just about emotional depth, it's about reflection. You weren't just their partner. You were their mirror. When they were around you, they saw a version of themselves they respected more. You brought out parts of them they were proud of. You made them think deeper, love smarter, and reflect harder. And now, they're back to shallow conversations, surface attention, and empty validation. They miss who they were with you. And they can't recreate that with anyone else, because what you gave wasn't just comfort. You gave contrast. You were their peace, not by being passive, but by being present. You challenged their patterns. You questioned their distractions. You grounded them when their thoughts ran wild. That's not something easily replaced, because it was never about appearance or words. It was about energy, alignment, timing, truth. And once someone's experienced that kind of connection, everything else feels flat. They might post smiles, they might fake moving on, but pay attention to what they don't say. The random stories they bring up about a friend that sounds a lot like you. The way they scroll past your page a little too slow. The hesitation when your name comes up. That's regret. That's recognition. That's their soul calling out for what it once had and lost. Why didn't they just stay when they had it good? That's a question many of you ask in silence. The truth is, some people don't recognize rare energy until it's no longer feeding them. When something is constant, the ego starts believing it's disposable, and so they walk away, expecting something better, only to find that what they left behind was better. Now, every connection is an unfair comparison. Every new person is held up against the standard you unknowingly set. And here's the part they can't undo. They trained their heart to want something it no longer has access to. That craving doesn't go away. That hunger lingers, because once someone has tasted the truth, the fake can't satisfy them anymore. They're trying to feel full, but everything tastes like plastic now. Empty calories, no soul, no depth, just noise. So don't let their silence fool you. They remember, they compare, they miss, not because you're perfect, but because you were real, and real is rare. Real doesn't beg to be chosen. Real walks away with its head held high and lets the universe handle the rest. That's who you are. And if this feels true, not just in your mind, but in your bones, write this in the comments. I'm the standard. Say it with clarity. Say it with calm, because you didn't lose anything. You were the something they were never ready for. And now, no one else can measure up. Number 4. The more they move on, the more you haunt them. They thought moving on meant moving forward, that by deleting the photos, muting your name, and laughing with someone new, they'd finally outrun your memory. But here's what life had waiting for them on the other side of that illusion. You. Not in your physical form, but in flashes, fragments, echoes, in the quiet, in the in-between, in the places they didn't think you'd show up. They tried to bury you, but your presence had already rooted itself deep inside their daily life. Now, the more they try to move on, the more you haunt them. That's how emotional memory works. It's not always loud. It doesn't always knock on the door in dramatic ways. Sometimes it shows up as a sudden wave of silence while they're mid-conversation. Sometimes it's the smell of your favorite coffee when they're walking down a street. It's a song on the radio that used to play in your car. It's the inside joke they can't explain to anyone else. It's your laugh stuck in the walls of their memory. Sharp, specific, and still alive. Carl Jung believed that what we suppress doesn't disappear. It returns in disguise. That's what's happening to them now. They thought they were over you, but your energy keeps slipping through the cracks. The mind may try to delete, but the soul remembers rhythm, patterns, energy. And you became a rhythm in their life, a part of their routine. So even when they try to scrub you out, you return, not because you're chasing them, but because they once let you in too deep. Now they're dealing with what psychologists call grief triggers. These are sudden, unexpected emotional hits that come from simple, everyday things. Sitting in your old spot, seeing someone wear your color, catching a glimpse of a stranger's expression that feels familiar. They think they're fine. And then boom, there you are again, not because you're haunting them on purpose, but because real connection never dies quietly. You were tied to their habits. You became part of how they moved through the world, the texts before bed, the way they'd check their phone at lunch, the comfort of knowing someone had their back. And now, every attempt to build a new rhythm feels offbeat, forced. They don't know how to explain it, but nothing feels quite right anymore. The new person doesn't hold them the same. The conversations feel rehearsed. The energy? It just doesn't hit the same. That's not drama, that's emotional truth. Their body remembers you even if their pride refuses to, and that's what messes with them most. It's not the big things that break them down. It's the small, quiet reminders, the slow drip of memory that hits when they least expect it. It's finding one of your old messages while clearing storage. It's seeing your favorite snack at the store and suddenly losing their appetite. It's scrolling past a meme and instinctively thinking, I should send this to them, only to remember they can't. That's the grief they didn't prepare for. The grief they thought they could outrun. But now they understand. Your absence doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like a missing piece they can't replace. They're not just haunted by you, they're haunted by themselves in your presence. The version of them that smiled more, laughed louder, felt seen. That version is gone now, and that loss is showing up in the shadows of their new life. So don't be fooled by the forced smiles, the stories of "I'm over it" or the appearance of peace. If anything, their need to prove they've moved on is just another symptom of how deeply you still live inside them. You are their unfinished chapter, their unresolved energy, their emotional echo. And if you know that deep down, if you've felt that pull, that knowing, then remind yourself right now by typing in the comments, I still echo. Say it calmly, powerfully, because you don't need to haunt them on purpose. You already do. Number 5. They thought you were chasing. Now they're running. They thought you were chasing, and to be fair, maybe you were, for a while. Maybe you were the one reaching out first, checking in, sending the late-night texts, trying to hold things together when they were too proud, too distracted, or too blind to notice your value. They got used to your effort, got comfortable with your consistency. They thought they could treat your presence like an option because they assumed you'd always come back. But you didn't. You stopped. You detached. And that's when everything shifted. See, when someone believes they're being pursued, they feel powerful. They feel wanted, needed, validated. But the second that chase ends, the air changes. The power dynamic flips. Suddenly, the one who used to crave the attention becomes the one silently begging for it. That's what's happening now. You're no longer chasing, and now they're running. Not toward peace, not toward someone new, but in circles, trying to understand why your energy feels so far away, and why it hurts more than they ever expected. This is where the psychology kicks in. The human brain is wired to assign more value to what it can't have. It's called the scarcity principle. When something is always available, it feels ordinary. But the moment that something becomes rare, limited, or distant, it becomes valuable. You didn't change who you are. You changed how accessible you were. And in doing so, you became rare. You became wanted. Now they're replaying everything you ever said, every message you used to send, every memory you built together. They're trying to find the moment where you stopped needing them. They're trying to figure out what happened. And they can't. Because detachment doesn't come with a warning. It comes after you've given someone chance after chance, and they keep proving they're not ready. It comes quietly, but its impact is loud. The person who once dismissed your presence now craves your energy. The one who thought they could do better now finds everyone else boring. That's the cost of taking someone real for granted. The moment they stop caring, nothing else compares. You were their emotional anchor, their soft place to land. Now they feel ungrounded, anxious, off balance. And the worst part for them? You're calm, you're focused, you're no longer asking to be seen. You are seen, just not by them anymore. Detachment, my friends, is not anger, it's not spite, it's power, silent, mature, and deeply unsettling for those who once had your attention on a leash, and now that you've taken it back, they're the ones chasing ghosts. Checking your page, asking mutual friends, replaying old moments just to feel something that resembles what you used to give so freely. Why are they panicking? Because they lost the emotional upper hand, because for the first time they realized they weren't being loved, they were being carried. You carried the emotional weight. You brought the presence, the depth, the effort. Now that you've stepped back, everything feels colder, quieter, emptier. That's not coincidence, that's clarity. So stay detached, not to punish, but to protect. You didn't walk away to hurt them, you walked away to finally honor yourself. And in doing so, you reminded them of what they'll never replace. If this resonates deep within you, if you feel that calm strength growing where desperation used to live, type this in the comments: I stopped chasing, not as a threat, not as a game, but as a declaration. You reclaimed your energy, and now they feel the silence like thunder. Number 6. The mind forgets, the body remembers. They might not say your name out loud anymore. They might avoid conversations where you'd naturally come up. They might even pretend like you're a forgotten chapter, buried and done. But here's the reality they can't hide from. No matter how carefully they craft their mask, their body remembers you. Before their mind has time to lie, before their ego steps in to pretend you meant nothing, their nervous system reacts. A spike in the heartbeat, a shift in their breath, a pause in the middle of a sentence. That's the language of the body. And unlike the mind, the body never forgets the truth. Science backs this. Emotional memory isn't just stored in the brain, it's encoded into the nervous system. When someone deeply impacts you, whether through pain, love, comfort, or chaos, those sensations get locked in as muscle memory, heart memory, breath memory. You might not recall the exact details of a moment, but your body will. A smell, a tone of voice, a simple phrase that sounds like something you once said. And suddenly, they're spiraling. They're feeling something they can't explain. That's your echo, working its way through them, long after you've stopped reaching out. It's why they flinch when your name is mentioned casually. It's why they freeze up when someone who reminds them of you walks into the room. It's why, even now, something tightens in their chest when they hear that song. You know the one. The one that used to play when things were good, before it all fell apart. That song isn't just music to them now. It's a trigger, a portal, a sharp reminder of everything they said they could live without, but clearly can't. They thought healing was about thinking less, but healing doesn't begin in the mind. It begins in the body, and the thing is, they never really gave their body the chance to process you. They distracted themselves with new people, loud nights, forced laughter, but distraction isn't release. It's delay. And now that the noise has died down, their body is finally speaking. Loudly, honestly, and every reaction tells the same story. You're still in there, not as a ghost, but as a memory their nervous system doesn't want to let go of. Let's be clear. This isn't about romance. This is about imprinting. You weren't just another name in their contact list. You were an emotional experience, a sensory memory, a spiritual shake-up. That's not easy to forget. And the body knows it. It's why their jaw tightens when your name shows up unexpectedly. Why their stomach flips when someone mentions a place you two used to go. Why their mood shifts for no apparent reason after dreaming about you. Their body is doing what the mind is too afraid to, admitting the truth. And maybe they wonder, why does this still affect me? Maybe they question why they're still emotionally short-circuiting over someone they swore they were done with. The answer is simple. Your energy didn't leave quietly. It lingered. It wove itself into the fabric of their nervous system. And until they face it, fully without denial, it will keep coming back again and again at the most inconvenient times. So if you've ever doubted your impact, don't. If you've ever wondered whether they still feel you, they do. Before their brain has time to build the lie, their body already told the truth. They're not healed. They're haunted. And not because you tried to haunt them, but because you mattered. And when something matters deeply, it becomes part of us, like a tattoo under the skin, always there, even if no one else can see it. If you feel this in your bones, if you've seen it happen even once, type this in the comments. Their body remembers. Say it softly. Say it confidently, because you were never forgettable. You were unforgettable, right down to their heartbeat. Number 7. Regret. Hits late, but it hits hard. Regret doesn't always show up right away. It doesn't knock on the door the moment someone walks away from something good. It waits. It watches. And then, when the noise has faded and pride has run its course, regret slips in, quiet, sharp, and heavy. That's where they are now, sitting alone with everything they said to push you away, every cold response, every sarcastic jab, every moment they left you wondering if you were too much, when, in reality, you were the only real thing in the room. And now, it's killing them. Not all at once, but slowly, in waves. At the time, they thought they had the upper hand. They thought being distant made them strong. They believed silence was power, that showing emotion was weakness, and that keeping control was more important than keeping you. But now, that silence feels like a punishment. Not for you, but for them. Because all they're left with now is an empty phone, a head full of reruns, and a heart that won't shut up. They didn't just lose you. They lost the version of themselves that existed when you loved them. This is where the war begins, not between you and them, but inside their own mind. Guilt and pride don't live well together. Guilt keeps whispering, "You messed up. You let something real slip away," but pride fires back. "Don't go back. Don't look weak. Don't admit it." And they sit in the middle of that battle, exhausted, confused, paralyzed. They want to reach out, but they don't know how. Because reaching out would mean admitting everything they denied. And that's a hard pill to swallow when they spent so much time pretending you didn't matter. But you did. You still do. That's why they replay it all. Not just the good parts, but the bad. Especially the bad. The way they brushed you off when you were vulnerable. The way they ignored your efforts, your care, your presence. The moment you finally gave up trying and they acted like it didn't matter. That memory stings now, deeper than they expected. And it hits hardest at night, when there's no one else around to distract them. That's when their chest tightens. That's when the truth shows up, unwanted but unavoidable. You were their safe space, and they torched it. You offered softness in a world that only gave them chaos. You were patient when they were cold. You gave grace when they gave attitude, and now they see it. Too late, maybe, but they see it. And that realization, it doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like grief. Not just for you, but for the person they could have been with you, the version of themselves they never got to fully explore because their pride got in the way. And let's be real, they don't know how to come back. Because what do you say to someone who gave you everything while you gave them confusion? How do you face the one you ghosted, doubted, hurt, and ignored? When now you'd give anything just to hear their voice again. That's the knot they sit with every single day. They pretend it's peace, but it's regret disguised as ego. So if you've ever wondered whether they feel it, they do. Regret isn't always loud, but it's always honest, and it's far more painful when it arrives late. They didn't just lose you, they lost their chance to get it right. That's what hurts the most. If you've ever been made to feel like you didn't matter, but deep down you know they're feeling it now, say it loud in the comments. They regret losing me. Own it, not out of bitterness, but out of truth. Because some lessons don't come when you leave. They come when your silence becomes louder than your love ever was. Number 8. They're coming back, but now it's on your terms. They wanted control, remember? Back when you were still trying, still showing up, still believing in the bond, they held the cards. At least that's what they thought. They dictated the pace. They chose when to reply, when to engage, when to act like you mattered, and when to act like you didn't. But now the energy has shifted. What they once tried to control, they're now desperate to reach. And here's the twist they never saw coming. They're coming back, but not on their terms anymore, on yours. See, the thing about love, real love, is that it doesn't disappear just because someone tried to bury it. It doesn't vanish just because they acted indifferent. Love stays. It lingers. It seeps into the cracks of their routine, their thoughts, their emotional blind spots. And that's what's happening now. They're trying to live without you, but their heart isn't cooperating. Their pride is screaming, "Don't text them." But their soul is whispering, "What if you never get that chance again?" That inner war is real. And slowly, love is winning. They scroll through your photos and try not to double tap. They type messages and delete them. They replay your last moments together and wonder if you were holding on, hoping for one more chance. They don't say any of this out loud, of course. Pride won't let them. But in the quiet of their mind, you're the headline. You're the one they think of before bed. The first face that pops into their head when a song hits too hard. The name that lingers on the edge of their tongue when they talk about someone they used to know, pretending it doesn't still hurt. They're planning it, even if it's clumsy and slow. The return, the message, the casual, "Hey, just checking in." Not because they've figured everything out, but because the weight of your absence has finally become unbearable. They miss you more than they admit, even to themselves. And deep down, they know coming back doesn't mean walking into the same dynamic. You've changed. You're no longer waiting. You're no longer willing to accept breadcrumbs. Now, if they return, it has to be real. It has to be honest. It has to be on your terms. And that's the beauty of detachment. It doesn't block love. It filters it. It lets the weak energy fall away and gives space for what's true to rise. And right now, the truth is, they still love you. They never stopped. They just didn't know how to love you right the first time. But life has a way of humbling even the proudest hearts. Time has done its work. Your silence, your strength, your glow-up, it's all been felt. And now, they're circling back. Not because you chased, but because you didn't. So if you're wondering whether they'll return, they will. But this time, the story's different. This time, you set the tone. This time, you don't shrink to fit. You don't compromise your peace. You don't carry what isn't yours to carry. If they want back in, they'll have to show up fully. Because now, you know who you are. You know what you bring. And you've proven you don't need them, which is exactly why they're finally realizing they need you. And that, my friends, brings it full circle. They thought you'd be forgotten. They thought they'd move on, find better, feel nothing. But time revealed the truth. You were never replaceable. Their pride fought it. But love is winning. Now they want back in. But only if you open the door. If this message spoke to your soul, do me a favor, like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more content that keeps your power sharp and your peace protected. Stay grounded, stay calm. You're the standard.